There was some new reporting over the weekend from the New York Times, and it argued that for years, former President Biden ignored warnings that could have prevented the massive increase in border crossings at the southern border. The article reads in one part, quote, Mr. Biden's policy advisors sounded the alarm before he even won the election. In August of 2020, several aides wrote a memo cautioning Mr. Biden's inner circle that his promises, coupled with pent-up demand from the Trump years and economic hardship from COVID, could provoke a spike in border crossings. Michael LaRosa joins me now. He's former press secretary for Joe Biden. I said before we went to break that you have thoughts. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Lots of thoughts. So first of all, any self-respecting Democrat would not be able to sort of defend what's in this report, or no amount of spin.
Which you believe to be true?
I believe it all tracks with everything that I observed. And more or less, I would say it tracks with the culture of the White House and our approach to a lot of issues. Specifically on this, I also think it's important to set the table, keep everything in context. One is that Joe Biden is an institutionalist at his core. So we are operating under the 86 Simpson-Marzulli Act. We are still operating under
the last time Congress passed a president signed immigration reform.
Under the law that is on the books. And like most Democrats believe that the problem with the law can only be fixed by changing the law or making a
new legislation.
That executive action will not fix the ultimate problem of the immigration and the border. The other thing is we were dogged throughout that primary and that general campaign by the Latino community who didn't trust him. They didn't trust him not because of Trump, but because of Obama. They wanted to know at every turn, how can we trust you not to put our kids in?
Because there was a time when President Obama was accelerating deportations in order to win the confidence of Republicans with whom he was trying to negotiate a legislative compromise on immigration.
Correct.
That never happened, but in the interim, he was called the deporter-in-chief.
Correct, but which also led to a lot of family separations. And the Trump folks used that as a deterrent and really pushed the envelope.
So Biden had to make assurances during the campaign.
That's all we did. We were scared to death of the Latino community, and that didn't change in the White House. In fact, it accelerated. We were somebody said sensitive to politics. Well, sensitive is like putting it lightly. Sensitive to the left. We were fearful of the left, fearful of Latinos and the Latino interest groups, fearful of Congress.
Fearful to the detriment of the presidency and the country?
Yeah, I mean, that also tells you that he was never not going to run for re-election because we were always so nervous about keeping the Latino community in our coalition, because we knew we needed it. And we knew that there was mistrust going into the White House and that any change would not satisfy the Latino community. So we overcompensated and reacted to the excesses of Trump's executive orders by trying to be more humane, but it exploded the crisis in the process. And it looks like, from what we read, he was warned.
To the extent that the crisis became so pronounced that Democrats lost Latino voters in 2024, the very coalition the president was so, in your words, alarmed about losing.
Yeah. Look, there's a couple of lessons, I think, for Democrats to learn. I think one is that insularity can be a problem for people when you are denied information, when you're denied polling information, for example. So
do you think he didn't know, or do you think he knew and decided differently?
No, I think that he was more convinced by the politics than anything else. I actually believe probably at his core, he's actually generationally not in sync with the Democratic Party on the Democratic Party, today's Democratic Party. I think he would actually have preferred a tougher position on the border, but I think the politics was more of a priority.
And the advisors closest to him also empowered to express that and keep the policy where it was.
And by the time he eventually used executive action, it was the 11th hour of the final year, and it was all because of Donald Trump forced his hand.
And perceived as such by the electorate. Michael LaRosa, always a pleasure. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.